light for you.
Okay.
That's okay.
Good to go. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll be transparent with you. This is the whole reason I came down in here, was so we could get a up-close look at this artifact. Because this is a type of stone that we have not seen in our previous expeditions. And Raghav just pulled up a spectacular piece here. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful piece. I'm trying to clean it off so you can see. And let's take a look at one of these pieces here. Just so you can see the crystalline luster, the microcrystalline quartz in there. And there's another finished edge here.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. Now, as a follow-up from last week's epic Sunday Site Visit 101 that concluded with an exploration of the exterior temples surrounding the enigmatic pyramid of USERKAF, I will now take you along with me on a private, special permission access journey inside of the reaction chambers in one of the most exhilarating experiences that I have ever had in Egypt. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro, so without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. Now, to begin, for some orientation on what you saw in last week's Sunday site visit and where we are heading today, this is an exceptional diagram of the Saqqara Industrial Chemical Manufacturing Complex, an integrated network of structures whose processes begin here at the Great Enclosure Giza El Mudir that I have proposed is a water treatment and purification facility. At the center here, the step pyramid methane extraction pyramid. That methane is then converted into methanol here at the Pyramid of Wanis, otherwise known as the Crystal Pyramid, and the subject for today's exploration, the internal reaction chambers of the Pyramid of USERKAF. And in this diagram from my colleagues at the Osireion project, you can see the areas that we examined last week: the Eastern Offering Temple, the Southern Temple, or laboratory, paved with the thermoregulatory heat storage black basalt stones, the satellite hydraulic press pyramid, and the so-called Queen's Pyramid. And it was in this area that we discovered the channel component with the circular vertical connection housing. Next, here we have the reservoir enclosure surrounding the main pyramid and its satellite hydraulic press on the left, and on the right, the proposed height of this reservoir enclosure system. And this Eastern Offering Temple is where I discovered the conduit system in the same configuration as the one I found at the Pyramid of Osireion in Abu Sir, the one in Abu Sir being made from red quartzite, the one here at the Pyramid of USERKAF being carved from black granite, both of which contain high content of crystalline quartz. This black granite conduit is shown here in Part D on this photo from the original excavations, leading into an underground depression that you can see here, which is now, unfortunately, completely filled with sand. And that depression leading underground is also depicted here, showing that this area was at least of some interest to the archaeologists that originally explored this site. And clearly from this diagram, there was a critical component of the pyramid system connected directly into the structure itself and feeding into this black granite conduit. Now, onto the internal configuration of the reaction chamber system. The northern opening that you can see here, which leads down the descending passage toward the antechamber, crossing through the vestibule and valve system here. This ancillary chamber, located on the east side, implies a connection into the eastern external temple. More on this coming up in a future episode. And last but not least, the primary reaction vessels here, with a fantastic 3D diagram of the entire system here from Keith Hamilton. And within the primary reaction chamber, we discovered the remains of an absolutely spectacular artifact. This thing will completely blow your mind, and I won't spoil the surprise. This is something you just have to see for yourself. And we were the first team to be granted access into this pyramid in more than 10 years, with private special permission access from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. And what you are about to see is the first time this structure has ever been filmed and presented in high definition. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you enjoy this fantastic throwback footage for Sunday Site Visit 101. All right, everyone, welcome back. Today is the day. As promised, special permission access to the Pyramid of USERKAF. And I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, this is something you will not see anywhere else. So today we're going to explore the exterior of the structure, investigating the conduit on the eastern side. We're here on the northern side, which my friend Ragab, the lead archaeologist here in Saqqara, is opening up the structure for us today. I'm also here with my girlfriend Alexa from Ancient Odysseys.
Hello.
Say hello to the people. Say hello. You see me? There we go.
Buddy.
All right. So I'm very excited. I've been anticipating this for several months now. It's been in the works for quite some time, and we are finally here. And I've shown in a previous episode some photos from the Osireion projects. I believe it was 2010, 2011 when they got inside the structure last time. And I showed some pictures. So today we're going to get some on-site footage, exclusive here from the land of Chem. And I am stoked. Yalavina. You want to go first?
Sure.
Go. He's right. The Ragab was in there.
Come on, Nate. Tight squeeze. Reborn.
Awesome. All right, so ancillary chamber over here. Okay. And very interesting. This is a completely rock cut chamber, excavated from bedrock.
Is this Haley?
The salt, and you can see the crystalline salt. So, not what I was expecting. I thought that this was a finished chamber, and it actually may have been finished. So we see the blocks here, which probably originally did finish this chamber. And it looks like they've been removed and stacked over here. Okay, because you can see that the part of the finished chamber would have been here, casing all of this.
I think this is from the causeway.
Yep.
And for the blocks is casing.
Yep.
And ceiling.
Yes. So he was
Take a bit out.
removed. Yes, excavated out. Yeah.
The same.
Yeah. And Ragab was just confirming kind of what I was just saying, is that, you know, this is the original paving. This is the delineation of where the casing stones would have been.
The same walls.
Yep, the walls, and then also the ceiling in here. Because again, as soon as I walked in here, yeah, so yeah.
It's not all complete, but it's not unfinished. This is
It's pretty wild, huh? And you can see, yeah, so again, and you can see that there's masonry here. Mortar, right? So again, this was a finished chamber. It doesn't appear that way, and I was wondering when I was looking at, because obviously we did some research before we came down in here. And I was investigating the diagrams and the footage from the Osireion project, and I was wondering why there were all these displaced stones down here in this chamber. Well, it appears that they've removed all of the casing stones, the finishing stones of the ceiling, and then they placed them over there in that corner. So this is again just evidence that this is that it was originally a finished chamber.
and this is the same. The big blocks is
Yep, and then you see more here, yeah. And there's a big vein of salt right there. Pretty interesting. And of course, what I am on the lookout for in here is evidence of a hole somewhere. And again, my question is, why go through all the effort to remove all of the casing blocks and the ceiling blocks in here? And look what we have here. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Does that look familiar?
graffiti.
Some red paint. Here's another one. We've seen this before. You guys know what it is. There's more here. So here, you can see red material. Here. Here. It appears to be on a lot of these blocks. This one here has it. Traces here. So this may be from mortar. This appears to be mortar. Whereas, you know, these blocks were stuck together using mortar. And this is more of the mortar here, yep.
Mortar.
Here.
The lines too.
Yep.
For the line and here.
And you can see these crystals, the salt crystals on the ceiling. And there's more of the mortar and the sort of in situ blocks here. pretty wild, huh? I mean, it shines right in your face, but... So now again, I'm on the fence of whether this is similar to the coating compound or whether this was mortar that was used in the adhesion of the blocks. It appears to be a different color than the mortar. The mortar is pink, and this is very much red. And you can see here the color of the mortar. But again, why go through all the effort to remove all of this stuff? All of the finishing. Okay, so here we go. So here you can see how the original finish of the wall would have been. And they just removed all of this stuff. That doesn't make any sense why you would go through all of that effort to remove all the casing stones from in here. And they weren't being removed from the structure for repurposing because they're still mostly all in here. And I wouldn't say that there's any profound acoustic properties in here.
Try it out.
Well, we would be able to hear it already. But that may be because the casing stones have been removed. So again, people always ask about the geometry and the measurements. Well, you have to tune the chambers to resonate. And if you remove the casing stones, it changes the tuning of the chamber. Because that resonance just doesn't happen by accident. You have to have harmonic geometry built into the chamber itself. This is wild. So then again, this is the ancillary chamber, and I'll put in a diagram at the beginning to show you exactly kind of where we are in the structure. All right, the next thing I'm looking for is some staining. Cool. All right, so this block here looks like black granite, and then red granite in the ceiling, limestone, black granite, and red granite, and everything. When we walk back out, we'll get some documentation of the red granite on the way in here. But this is beautiful.
What you hint?
Yeah. All right, so this corner piece is a massive piece of black granite here. So, well, you can already hear that as soon as I step in here. And look at what we have here. You see this material? The salt coating is the same as what was found inside the bent pyramid. And the masonry in here looks very similar. So look at the joint, the precision of the joint here. And we've discussed in previous episodes that the material found inside of the bent pyramid is calcium sulphate. And it appears that this salt layer is the same type of material. And I'll definitely say that there's some acoustic properties in here. And it looks like there's a coating on the ceiling. See the deterioration?
It's flaking off.
It's flaking off. this is a patch here. What is that material? All right, but so there's no salt or coating on this wall. It seems to be only on this wall. And okay, so here's some of the material. Okay, so we discussed in a previous episode plaster of Paris, calcium sulphate. It looks like there was maybe a layer of the plaster on top of all of this. Because that layer of plaster there is on top of the layer of salt here. So that's a layer of plaster of Paris, most likely. Calcium sulphate. A very interesting coating material. Okay, so there's salt on this wall. On this wall. And I wonder if like these chisel marks, for example, are when they removed the plaster layer off the wall. So you can see that there's just random chisel marks here. And there's not too much of the remaining plaster. So you can see the remaining plaster on the ceiling. All right, so putting the pieces together here. Would you agree with that conclusion?
Certainly looks like plaster to me.
It certainly does. And when I was originally looking at the pictures, I thought that this was maybe staining or bleaching inside of the chamber, but it's not. It's plaster. Interesting. And now, so let me kind of pan slow. And I can't. Hold on one second. All right. Now that I've had a chance to kind of look around in here, the primary chamber. Let's take a look. And it appears that there is a plaster coating on the ceiling. And let's take a look at several things here. First thing here, this housing. We're gonna see some mortar in here. So there was definitely a component. You see the mortar here, the chisel marks from where something was popped out of this housing. And you can see this pretty beautifully curved piece right here. Again, it just kind of blows my mind what could have possibly been housed back in here that had this shape. So it was a rectangular piece, but there may have been some curvature to what was housed in here. Okay, and this housing here. Yeah, look at all those chisel marks. And we'll show you the money shot of what we're standing on here in just a moment, which is one of the main reasons that I came down in here, was to take a look at something that we're currently standing on 1,000,000 pieces of. Salt coating here. And then more plaster up here. So this is plaster. And then these two housings here, you can see one here and one here. And it really looks like something fit down in this piece here, which is pretty interesting. And they went through a lot of effort to pop this whole thing. See the chisel marks right there? So that's where the chiseling started. So that's where the component that was housed here started up here, because you could see it was chiseled out from there and it was popped out of place. Whatever was housed in between these two. It's not a dovetail, but it's a similar type of mechanism where something fit down in this piece, and then they removed the whole dang thing. You see the chisel marks here? So there's where they came in and chiseled this out of here. You can see the top of the housing right there. So next thing here, big ass cavity here, which again you can see that there's chiseling here. A lot of work went into excavating all this. And we're about to get some footage from in there. Hang on one second. Why go through all that effort? Right, to pull all of that material out of there. And you can see here, like, you can see where there was, well, it's the mortar that held the blocks in place there. So I wonder if so just following this line here, yeah, a tremendous amount of work went into removing what was there. And last but not least, the remains of the container. And I'm sure you could hear it when we were standing over here. This thing has been shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. And you can see here, this is the original floor level here. And all of this was excavated down. They removed material out of here. And this container was most likely sunken into the floor, the same way as we see the central pyramid, where that container is sunken down into the floor. Now, where the story gets more interesting. The chemical composition of said container. Look at the color. I'm not going to say what color it is, because we'll be coming to that later. But this is not your everyday piece of stone, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special material. And let me cut here and change battery. Okay,
That's okay.
good to go. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll be transparent with you. This is the whole reason I came down in here. so we could get a up close look at this artifact. Because this is a type of stone that we have not seen in our previous expeditions. And Raghav just pulled up a spectacular piece here. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful piece. I'm trying to clean it off so you can see. And let's take a look at one of these pieces here. Just so you can see the crystalline luster, the microcrystalline quartz in there. And there's another finished edge here. Again, they busted this sarcophagus container into hundreds of pieces. I mean, the whole thing is just shattered and destroyed. And I'll show you an image of something at the headless pyramid, which is also located here in Saqqara, that's made of a similar material. Again, I think you can see there the color that we're looking at here. And the reason I'm not going to say it yet is because this requires more investigation. I want to be able to more fully understand why we're looking at this material. I know what it is already. I want to understand why. This is remarkable. And again, the machining or the finishing of this artifact would have been absolutely spectacular. And I think on these two pieces you can really see the color. It's not black. Which in the pyramid of Winis and Teti the First, it's black greyweck. And you can see again the little tiny flecks of quartz that are in there. Very special piece of stone. So I have to say, this is one of the most unusual structures that I've been in here in Egypt. Of all the Giza pyramids, the bent pyramid, the red pyramid, the step pyramid, etc., even the missing components inside the red pyramid, we were looking at those housings recently. I mean, just looking at these housings here that are right behind me on the wall that we were just looking at. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. And you can see the shape of this housing here. But again, you have to remember that this white section has all been removed. And there's an angular that slopes up here where something almost slid and locked into this piece here. And again, that was all chiseled out. Again, the missing components is what makes the mystery so fascinating, because we'll never be able to decipher what was here. Of course, they would say that these are housings for statues or components of the funerary process that were removed, possibly precious metals, gold, whatever it might have been that were housed in these housings. Again, this is some footage that, again, you can see again the mortar in here. This is mortar from whatever was stuck into here. And I'll be transparent with you. So if you would shine a light on the ceiling, when I was originally looking at this structure, just from the pictures, right, so you see this, let me look here, okay, so this is something that I showed in the previous episode, is this pattern, this white pattern here, okay, moving up in this direction, and it looked like a staining pattern moving into the upper ceiling. However, if we take a look here, what it is, it's not staining pattern, it's that this side has salt deposit on its floor. So this is very similar to what we saw in the bed pyramid. You can see there's some chisel marks here, chisels, chisel marks here, chisel marks here, where the layer of calcium sulphate, or plaster of Paris, was removed. So this has salt deposit on it here. You can see the crystalline salt material. And this is exactly the same as what we saw inside the lower separation chambers of the bed pyramid. And I thought that this was, so originally my hypothesis was that we were looking at a structure that was making possibly hydrogen peroxide or bleach, because it looked like this whole section here had been bleached. But it's not staining. It's rather the absence of the salt deposit. So we're looking at a chamber that was completely sealed with plaster of Paris. Still has the remains of the calcium sulphate. Definitely looks like there's some iron oxide. A primary chamber that has these extremely unusual housings, and a container made of a mysterious blue material. Oh, I said what color it is. Again, still, why go through all the effort of taking the... So again, there was a casing block here, and they removed a big old chunk of stone for some reason out of this entire section. So what was so compelling here, other than that whatever was housed, the component that was housed here, what was so compelling that they went in to remove all of this? All right, so now we depart from our investigation of the primary reaction chamber. And here we go. Ancillary chamber, or antechamber. And back to the north. And we can see here, so limestone here. And then this is all red granite into this entire section until you see this black piece here, which looks to be black granite. A piece of black granite here. Do one more pass in through here. Again, we got the documentation of the original casing stones A tremendous amount of effort went into the disassembling of the interior components inside of this structure. And then again, pieces of the remaining stones here inside of this chamber. And then back. Again, this is all red granite in here. Beautiful. Look at that. Crazy. All right, so now, ladies first. All right.
You want to hand
You
it
sure?
over for
Yeah.
you?
All right. Hold the flashlight.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, so this is a valve. So let's
Oh, I
look
didn't even
up
look
in
at it.
here. Yep. Okay. Look at
Looks
how
like staining.
black all of that is. Interesting.
Let's go
Okay.
take a look. It's very strange.
Okay.
What do you see?
I mean, it goes up into the core, but there's definitely like definitely a space there. Rather large space, actually. And it looks to maybe be bedrock. Very interesting. There's definitely a hollow cavity up there. And I don't think this is soot.
It's got a reddish hue.
Got a rat. Okay.
It's all these pock marks too.
Again, that's chisels that look like, again, it doesn't look like the original carving of this section. You can see the patterns of these chisels here. Well, perhaps it was in the carving out of this section of stone. This is not bedrock because it's blocks. What type of stone is this? Very interesting. Okay.
You look in here.
So again, I think that's.
It goes way up.
Again, it's probably the same type of cavity that's on the other side.
Was that white up there?
Again, that looks like mortar or fill-in. Hold that. You can go first. Okay. Can take that. And then again, there's a red granite lintel beam here, red granite here, white limestone, red granite ceiling. And then we'll head out.
Okay?
Amazing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's so good.
And open it. And again. Pretty awesome.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was Sunday Site Visit 101, private special permission access inside the Pyramid of USERKAF. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, the Egyptian Pyramid Chemical Engineering, Part 2, Temperature and Pressure Conditions inside the primary steam reformer. This is an episode you do not want to miss. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and remember to click that little notification bell so you don't miss out on the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research. Check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch. Links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our other channels, Ancient Odysseys, Let's Go with Lex and G, and the best channel on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats. All three linked in the video description below. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode. I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.